Welcome, everyone, and welcome to Western Connecticut SCORE's webinar on Are You Ready to Receive Government Contracts? I'm Peter Talion, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at Western Connecticut SCORE, and I'll be your host. We're very pleased to announce that the webinar is being done in collaboration with the Southern Connecticut Black Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Bridgeport Opportunities Industrial Center. It's my privilege to ask Kimberly Farrer-Powell, the Vice President of the Chamber, to say a few words, and then Ayanna Thomas, the Director of Business Development for the Chamber, will also say a few words. Kim, please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Southern Connecticut Black Chamber of Commerce, I would like to welcome and thank you for joining us today. The Chamber is a business membership organization serving small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the greater Bridgeport communities. Our focus is to provide educational and informational workshops, free access to contacts, MBE certification, and networking opportunities. We welcome members who have just a thought to start up a business to those who have been in business for generations. The Chamber is dedicated to creating a level playing field when it comes to providing the same opportunities and resources for our minority and women-owned business as their counterparts. And so right now I'd like to turn it over to my counterpart, Ayanna Thomas, Director of Business Development, to say a few words.
Yes, thanks, Kim. Welcome, everyone. As the Black Chamber continues to grow, we're excited to expand the resources available to our members. In addition to the business development and strategic partnerships, we're introducing an AI education to help business owners learn practical ways to save time, increase productivity, and strengthen their marketing and growing their businesses. So we appreciate the opportunities to partner on programs like today and look forward to continuing to bring valuable resources to our business community. Thank you.
Thank you both very, very much for your opening comments and for sponsoring this important event. So thank you. Our speakers today are Tanisha, Baptiste-Bynum, and Shelli Orosz. More on our speakers in just a moment. First, some brief information on SCORE. There are about 10,000 SCORE volunteers nationally in about 200 local chapters. SCORE is a small business administration resource partner. Western Connecticut SCORE has about 130 mentors with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer three primary value-added services to small business owners. Free one-on-one counseling, which can be done face-to-face, telephone, email, and video, which can be accessed via the Request Mentor link on our website or via the link on the screen. Number two, educational in-person workshops and live webinars, about 100 per year. This is an example of one of them. And we have very extensive resources on our website, including a network of subject matter experts at your disposal. Some information about today's event. If you have a question, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It is located in the lower part of your screen. Our workshop will end at 1 p.m. to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available at westernconnecticut.score.org within the next couple of days. Now, I'm delighted to talk about our two speakers. Shelli is a contract analyst with Connecticut's Business Access Program, dedicated to driving economic growth in the business community. A former business owner and Women's Business Center professional, Shelli brings a unique blend of entrepreneurial insight and community development to her role of guiding businesses through the state's contracting system and certification processes. Tanisha is the lead outreach and marketing specialist and Veterans Business Development Officer for the Connecticut District Office of the U.S. Small Business Administration, where she supports small businesses through outreach, education, and access to SBA resources with a focus on government contracting. She works with small businesses, stakeholder organizations, small business liaison officers, and other contracting professionals to promote procurement readiness and participation in federal contracting opportunities. And she manages the 8A business development portfolio for the district. Tanisha brings 24 years of federal civil service as a U.S. Army veteran who holds an MBA from UConn and an FAC-C professional certification. I am now very happy to turn over the webinar to Tanisha and Shelli. Go right ahead, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to present today. So we're going to kick it off with me. I'm going to talk about the federal government side of contracting before I turn it over to Shelli. So bear with me as I share my screen. And so I see Ayana on camera. So Ayana, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. And do you see the full slide?
No, we see a partial slide, and we see the next slide in your speaker notes. So if you want to go to full screen, that might be easier for viewers to watch.
Okay.
That's
Better?
perfect. Yep, that's
All
great,
right,
Tanisha.
all right. So without further ado, so I am just going to give you a broad overview of government contracting, right? We're not going to dive into the weeds, but you will have my contact information as well as some free resources who will help you along your journey. So why do we want you to think about government contracting, specifically federal government contracting? One, the federal government is the world's largest customer, buying all kinds of products and services. So federal government spending is at about $600 billion per year. It is required by law to provide contract opportunity to small businesses. So to really specifically speak to that, 23% of prime contracting dollars should be set aside for small businesses. So in dollars and cents, 23% of 600 billion is approximately $138 billion in federal contracting money that should be set aside for small businesses. So there's an enormous amount of opportunity for small businesses in government contracting. So if you go to SBA.gov/contracting, we do have lots of tools there for you to evaluate your readiness. We have some modules that are pre-recorded, that are self-paced, that can guide you through the processes. So the first thing you want to do is ask yourself, is my business ready to get into government contracting? So the first question, does the government buy what you sell? So a lot of people say, Tanisha, I do consulting. The government doesn't need consulting. Well, I would argue and challenge you to do a little bit more research, because the government buys just about everything from consulting services to healthcare services to what everyone already knows in terms of engineering, aerospace, construction, different things like that. But the government buys food service, bells for ships, photographers, videographers, different things like that. So the government definitely buys a lot more than what a person would generally think. So we're going to talk about a website called SAM.gov. That is one great place for you to get started and kind of doing a little bit of market research to see if the government buys what you sell. Do you have federal contracting experience, cash, inventory, working capital? I challenge that first one. Federal contracting experience doesn't necessarily need to be federal, but as long as you have experience in your field of expertise. So if you are in food service, as an example, we just want to make sure that you have some experience. Janitorial services, have you ever cleaned large commercial buildings before, whether that's on a state level, private level, federal service level? We just want to make sure that you have the experience. Do you have the cash up front? So one thing about contracting is you often won't receive payment up front. You generally will receive payment on the back end, unless it's a larger contract, a longer term contract where you may have some progress payments. But you want to make sure that you have the capabilities up front to be able to perform on the contract itself. Do you have the inventory required to perform the duties of the contract? Are you capable? Do you have the staffing requirements? Do you need to look at bringing on some vendors or subbing out some work? And do you know where to find contracting opportunities? And I already gave you the answer to that. That's SAM.gov. So the answer to that one, at least, is yes. So how do you get started? First, you want to know your NAICS code. So NAICS is the North American Industry Classification Systems codes. You can go to that by going to census.gov/NAICS. That is the place to go. There's a couple of other sites, like there's a NAICS.org and different things like that. We don't want you to go there. We want you to go to census.gov/NAICS. And I will make sure to put that in the chat. I will share the slides with SCORE so they can send them out to all of you. So you'll have the clickable links embedded in these slides as well. So your NAICS code, they just define what you're doing, your industry. It's a 6-digit code. You can have more than one. So when you do your SAM registration, you'll have your primary. That's what we call your revenue driver. So that's where the bulk of your services come from. So we'll use construction as an example. So you may be in general construction, commercial construction, but you also do some painting. You also do some repairs. You also do some of these subcategories. So you can have as many sub-NAICS codes in your profile as you can perform on. The caveat is to make sure you can actually perform under these NAICS codes. You want to make sure that you're small. 98% of businesses are small. If you're in here, we're not talking about micro businesses. I think a lot of people get confused with micro businesses and small businesses. So whether you're small is tied to your NAICS code. If you go to SBA.gov and search size standards, you type in your NAICS code, it will tell you what the size standards are. It's going to be based either on annual receipts or number of employees, depending on the NAICS codes. And then we already talked about where you're going to find your NAICS codes. Again, I'll share these slides. All of these links are embedded. The next thing is you want to make sure that you are registered in SAM.gov. This is a free website. Always. It's always going to be free. I say this because there are spoof sites out there that will charge you to register your SAM or to renew your SAM. SAM has always been and will always be free. So if anything prompts you for a payment, you're in the wrong site. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to SCORE, some of our other resource partners that we can get you on track to where you need to be. This is where you have to register to do business with the U.S. government. It is the payment system. So this is, if you're doing federal government contracting, this is the system that they use to facilitate EFT to pay you for the work that you're doing for the government. This is where you go to update, renew, check the status of your entity registration. You can search your registration. You can search for other things like wage determination, contract opportunities, data reports, if you're wondering how many contracts did SBA do award to small businesses. You can search that information on SAM as well. All of that is publicly available information. This is what the website looks like. You're going to see it saying official U.S. government website. You want to make sure that you see that. There's going to be a flag up top that lets you know it's an official federal site. And I'm saying this again, I'm kind of, beating the horse because there's so many times that people have come to me and say, Tanisha, I tried to register my SAM. I paid the $1,500 to register it, and I never got any further correspondence. Again, it's free. Okay. You want to do your market research. So you want to know what agencies buy your products and services. So there's a couple of ways that you can do that. One is SAM.gov. That's going to be your primary space to go in there, type in keywords. You can type in your NAICS codes to see what contracting opportunities come out. If you really want to dive deeper into this, you can go to individual, if you know I want to do business with the Department of the Navy, you can go to the Navy's website to see if they have any forecasting reports up there that let you know what they're looking at in the upcoming fiscal year in terms of needs. You can also go to acquisition.gov and search for forecasts. And there's a comprehensive document of all agencies that have uploaded their forecast in there. So a couple of ways for you to do that. You also have usaspending.gov. Again, I'll add all of these links in the chat so you all can have them. usaspending.gov is another website you can go to see contracts that have already been awarded to businesses. You want to find your niche. So if you are in general construction, There's several other general construction companies out there. So what is your niche? What is your unique differentiator? What's going to make you stand out from the rest of the crowd? You're going to understand the areas of government spending, and we are going to dive into that in a future slide. And know your competition and their contracts. Again, all federal contracts that have been awarded are publicly available unless it's with DoD and it's something that is classified. So if it's classified, you'll see that it's sealed, and that's because there's some data that can't be released to the public. But in general, the contracts are going to be publicly available. And I apologize, I'm still saying DoD. It is now Department of War. Bear with me, all these new changes, trying to keep up. You want to have your capability statement. Now, our resource partners such as SCORE, Apex Accelerators, different places like that can assist you with your capability statement. This is what we call kind of your business resume. It's a one-pager. The purpose is, one, it's an introduction to your business. It has proof of qualification. Is this business qualified to perform on this job opportunity that we have? It is a marketing tool. So it helps you to open the door. So even if there isn't a current contracting opportunity, this can open the door to future opportunities for you. It's going to captivate your customers. Again, it's a business resume. It's a relationship builder. You want to use it for prime or teaming opportunities. So if you want to be a prime contractor, you're going directly to the contracting officer, the source, the agency. Or it can be a teaming opportunity. You're going to give this to another small business or maybe another prime contractor who may be looking to award some sub opportunities. It will be required as parts of sources sought or request for information responses. They're going to say you must upload your capability statement. So your contracting vehicles, the way that federal government does their purchasing. So again, we already talked about that, $600 billion a year, 23% set aside for small businesses. So there's a couple of ways that contracts are posted. So you have your full and open competition. So what this means is anyone can bid on this contract. So they post it. Anyone from the small mom and pops contracting company to someone as large as Pratt & Whitney or Electric Boat can bid on this contract. Then you have your small business set aside. So what this means is that you must be one of these categories in order to bid on the contract. So that could be small business, or that could be one of our socioeconomic categories that we'll talk about in a later slide. And then you have your sole sources. Sole sources means that there's some caveats to it, but in general, what that means is it's not going out to competition. The contracting officer has identified one source to perform on this contract. Then you have your agreements. So agreements are not contracts. They are like a basic order agreement. You won't see this very often. It expedites contracting for uncertain requirements. So that means that they don't know all of the details yet, but they have their descriptions of supplies and services that will be provided, your methods of pricing, issuing, and delivering for future requirements. So it's kind of a placeholder, not quite yet a contract. Then you have your blanket purchase agreement. These are more common. So this is a method of fulfilling anticipated repetitive needs for supplies and service. So an example that I like to use is in our office, we had a Xerox machine. And as a part of the Xerox machine, there was a maintenance agreement that needed to go with it. And so there's a monthly fee that needed to be paid for this maintenance. So it exceeded what's called the micro purchase threshold. And the micro purchase threshold for the federal government is $10,000. So that means anything over $10,000 needs to be either put on a blanket purchase agreement or it needs to go out to bid. So this repetitive need exceeds the $10,000. So it needed to go on a blanket purchase agreement. So that's what, and every month it's paid off of that BPA. Hope that made sense. If not, pop it in the chat. I'll try to explain it a little bit better. So subcontracting. Now this may be if you're just getting started, you're not quite ready for for prime contracting, this is a great place to start. We really recommend that you start with subcontracting before jumping into prime contracting. It's a great starting point for you to get into federal government contracting. It's simpler, it's faster. There's less kind of paperwork for you, or it's a less burdensome way for you to get into contracting. And it's a great way for you to learn the way federal contracting works from the prime that you're working under. It helps you build capacity. It creates that past performance that we're talking about, meaning now you're starting to get a little bit better understanding, getting a little bit more experience and different things like that. You get access to the federal government indirectly. And again, it allows more opportunities for small businesses. You may not have full capabilities to work on a large contract on your own. So subbing under a prime is a great way for you to enter the federal marketplace. So some of our certifications, so these are the set aside categories that I had mentioned. So 23% set aside for small businesses, but there's additional goals for federal agencies to meet, and that is targeted set aside. So we have our woman-owned small businesses, 5%, there's a 5% goal for federal agencies to set aside opportunities for women-owned small businesses. Small disadvantaged businesses, including businesses participating in the 8A business development program, that's at 5% as well. And then businesses that are located in the historically underutilized business zones, that's set aside at 3%. And then finally, we have our service disabled veteran-owned small business certification, and agencies are bold at 5% as for that as well. These are all formal certifications. You have to apply for these certifications on SBA certifications website. I'll put that link in the chat as well. And again, the set aside are reserved for small businesses anywhere between $10,000, remember that's the micro purchase threshold, and $250,000, which is the simplified acquisition threshold. So what this means for you all and for contracting officers is if you have a contract that falls in between these numbers, 10,000 and 250,000, they must set that aside for small business or one of these socioeconomic categories. If they do not set these aside, they need to justify a reason why. Is it something that's highly specialized, that there's only one business that's a larger business that's able to perform on it? So a little bit more about the Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program. Again, you get to take advantage of annual prime contracting goals at 5%. It allows you to build capacity and grow. And you can access set-asides for women-owned small businesses and economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses. An important thing to note about this certification is that it is tied to industry. So just because I'm a woman and I have a small business does not automatically mean that I qualify for this certification. It is tied to, again, NAICS codes. There's 733 NAICS codes that qualify for women-owned small businesses. So it is a large number. And this is for industries that are historically underrepresented by women. So they're more male-dominated fields, but you'd be surprised to learn how many fields are actually, again, there's 733 of them that are eligible for the Women-Owned Small Business Program. We have our 8A Business Development Program. Now, this is a 9-year program for businesses that are both socially and economically disadvantaged. This is a once-in-a-lifetime program, and that is the lifetime of both the business as well as the business owner. And an important thing to note about this program is it's not a contracting program. This is a business development program. So being in this program does not automatically mean that you will have access to contracts. You'll have more access to business development. It does, though, give you a few more pathways like sole sources, set aside programs and different things like that to help you build the capacity and growth in contracts. And then, of course, you get access to business development support. Historically underutilized business zone certification. So these zones are identified by the U.S. Census. The SBA does not identify what areas are underutilized. The census, through their data collection, they identify what census tracts are a part of the underutilized business zones. So this is one of our unique certifications in that it's not tied to any characteristic of the business owner. It is really an economic development program. So it's based on the area that the business is in, as well as the areas that their employees come from. So it wants to help stimulate capital investment, build capacity and grow, and then you get access to hub zone set-aside contracting dollars as well. So the purpose of the hub zone, I already talked about it, is an economic development program. And it is it's designed to fuel growth of small businesses in these areas. So it's trying to stimulate that economy. Eventually, areas will hopefully graduate out of the hub zone program, which means that some of the things they look at is poverty levels, unemployment levels, and different things like that. So hoping that putting these businesses in these areas, hiring employees that reside in these areas will help to stimulate that economy to where it's no longer a distressed community. The unemployment rates have decreased, the poverty levels have decreased, and now they're no longer eligible, which is actually a good thing, right? Then we have our service disabled veteran-owned small business program. Again, that's at 5%, building capacity and grow. You do have to have some type of service-connected disability through the VA. If you are a veteran and you understand the way that this works in terms of the service connection, one of the biggest questions that I get asked is what's the minimum percentage? There is no minimum percentage. So even if you're 0% service connected, which is a thing, you can be 0%, you will be eligible for the service disabled veteran-owned small business program. You must be a veteran. And there's different definitions of veteran, which means you have to have at least 1 day of active duty service in order to be qualified as a veteran, or be injured during training to be qualified as a veteran. You have to have an other than dishonorable discharge, so general or honorable discharges to be eligible as a veteran. And again, for SDVOSB, you have to have some sort of service-connected disability. Some resources that are available to you. We have SCORE, of course, so we're being hosted by Western Connecticut SCORE. The other SCORE chapter in the state is Eastern Connecticut SCORE. We also have our Connecticut Small Business Development Center. We have our Women's Business Development Council, who, by the way, you don't have to be a woman to utilize their services. They do take male clients as well. We have our Veterans Business Outreach Center, the VBOC of New England. You must be a veteran or a military spouse in order to be a client of the VBOC. We also have the Connecticut Apex Accelerators. So they help specifically with procurement, and that's on all levels of procurement. That is commercial, that is state, that is municipal, that is federal procurement as well. They won't help you with general business stuff like business planning, business finances, and different things like that, but they will help you with all things procurement. We do invite you to connect with us on social media. The Connecticut District Office is on X. And we're also on LinkedIn. So if you scan these QR codes and connect with us, any events that we have coming up, any updates to some SBA policies and offerings are also on our X as well as our LinkedIn. You can sign up for our newsletters. We do promote not only SBA events, we also promote our resource partners events. So if you want to receive our newsletters, please go to scan that QR code or go to sba.gov/updates and you will get our newsletter. And finally, here's my contact information. You can email me at tanisha.baptiste@sba.gov with any questions that you may have. And now I will look to see if you all have any questions. Again, I know I went through this really, really quickly. It's a lot of information to go through in 25 minutes. But I have a couple of minutes where I can answer any of your questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Tanisha. I think there's a question in the Q&A. And for our audience, this is the first part of our presentation. Shelli will be joining after Tanisha finishes, so please stay tuned. Do you see the Q&A, Tanisha?
I do. And yes, I will put some of the links while Shelli's going through her presentation. I'll start typing some links and throw them in the chat for you all. And I will also give you my email address and the contact. Someone asked if there's any fees. So again, we're a federal agency, so you all fund us. So there are no fees for any of our certifications. There's no fees for SAM.gov. There's no fees for any of that. Everything is going to be completely free for you all. And let me see if there's anything else in there that I missed. And I will be sharing a copy of the slide deck once again with SCORE to make sure that you all have the clickable links that are embedded in the presentation. I think that's all the questions. Did I miss anything? Does the government purchase education services? If so, what might that look like? Yes. So there are lots of instances. So again, we're not going to go one by one with a lot of the things, but there are, again, go to SAM.gov, take a look at it. You can be educating the workforce on different things. You could be doing some education on one of the military bases for the youth if they have some daycares or schools on bases and different things like that. So again, I recommend that you go to SAM.gov to do a little bit of market research. From your experience, Robert, I don't think you finished your question there. Does a government say, let me go ahead and type in my email for you all. And I don't want to take too much of Shelli's time, so I can respond to some of the questions in the chat.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Tanisha. We appreciate it very much.
No problem. Thank you again.
Thank you. And Shelli, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's see, I believe you are seeing my PowerPoint, correct?
Yep, you're all set to go. Full PowerPoint is on the screen. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Shelli Orosz. I'm part of the Business Access team with the Department of Administrative Services Procurement Division. So our division, we're the primary procurement agency for the state of Connecticut. So what that means is that we manage most of the contracts that the state agencies use to purchase all the goods and services that we need to operate every day, right? We are very committed to providing a fair, competitive, and transparent process. And one of our missions is to create more opportunity for Connecticut's business community. We are open to, of course, all businesses, but Connecticut is obviously one of our focuses, right? And our team's mission as the Business Access team is to connect with businesses throughout the state and help connect you with state contracting opportunities. We do a lot of trainings. We go to a lot of events, right? We want you to be more involved. We want to be your partner of choice. So during today's presentation, I'm going to go over 3 questions. Why should you consider contracting with a state? Is your business ready? And what are the steps to get started? And you will see some crossover between Tanisha's presentation and mine because there are some kind of basic similarities. The details are very different. A lot of the weeds are different. But let's see. So first of all, why should you contract with the state? Why should you go for this, right? The state can be a very important customer to help you in expanding your business. So I'm going to go over the 5 C's of contracting with the state of Connecticut. And our first is competition. I just mentioned, we take extreme efforts to make sure that we have a fair and competitive procurement process. Oops. Let's see. There we go. There is a myth that the state has a list. You know, if you want to do business with the state, you have to be on that list. That is a myth. Like I said, we're very careful about we are protective of our competitive process. It actually is very beneficial to us. It means we get better pricing, and it is beneficial to you because it creates more opportunity. We also, as the federal government, we buy just about everything, right? There is a wide variety of products and services. Last year, we spent over $1.1 billion. We had over 1,500 contracts. So if you have a product or service to sell, it is very well worth exploring whether we purchase those items. Continuity. As a former business owner myself, I cannot overstate the importance of continuity. This means that we have consistent opportunities, right? With private industry, the private sector is highly affected by economic cycles, right? There's more opportunity when the economy is strong, less when we go through a low point. The state government, I mean, we have to run, no, it doesn't matter what's going on with the economy. We have certain services and that we need to provide to the citizens of Connecticut. So our opportunities are largely unaffected by economic cycles. Customers, if you are successful, it can definitely expand your customer base, not just through state agencies. As I mentioned, we manage most of the contracts for the state of Connecticut. So obviously, agencies are able to make purchases on those contracts. However, many of our contracts are used mainly by municipalities. We have 169 municipalities in the state of Connecticut, and most of our contracts are available to those municipalities as well as state educational institutions. So you can see there's quite an expansive audience base with our contracts. Finally is compensation. We pay our bills. For the majority of companies, it is net 45 days, our payment terms. However, for certified companies, companies that are certified or as small or minority business, you get net 25 days. And I will not go into detail on our certification today, but I will touch on that. All right. So our second question today is, are you ready to contract with the state? So we have created a checklist to help guide you through your preparations for state contracting work. Now, some of this may seem obvious, but I will tell you, we worked with our contract specialists with our whole procurement team to figure out where our business is having a tough time. And sometimes it's some of the more obvious things that are being missed. So these are all important pieces. I will say that it is important to note every contract, every opportunity is different. So this list isn't going to cover everything, but there are a lot of general guidelines that are applicable to most opportunities. So that is what I'm going to share today. So first of all, you have to make sure your business is set up correctly, and it must be in compliance with all government and industry requirements. So a few things to make sure. Are you registered with the Secretary of State? That is applicable for all businesses, all business types except for sole proprietorships or general partnerships, but every other business type must be registered with the Secretary of State. Also, strongly recommend, to get into contracting, you need to have your employer identification number. You should have it anyway, right? You don't have to have employees to have an employer identification number. This is a free number that's available through irs.gov. Very easy, just takes it's very easy to get. And it helps keep your social security number safe. Required licenses. this depends upon your industry, right? Any business or trade licenses, make sure they're current and that they are active. Keep up on those. All right, now here we're going to get a little more into the weeds, right? Demonstrating capacity. And this is similar. There's some, here you're going to hear some similarities with the federal side. Your relevant experience. You do have to provide us evidence. You have to be able to show your past experience, that you actually have the capacity, right, to complete the terms of a contract. We have made a conscious effort to expand this opportunity where possible on contracts where it's possible. We we've opened it up to newer businesses, right? It's not just the business experience, but we do try to allow the experience of company principals, right? You could have opened a new business, but have 20, 25 years of experience in the industry, right? So we don't want to ding you for that. If possible, we allow the principal experience uh, to to demonstrate that capacity. Another change is with equipment. And this is again where, remember I said we're trying to open up the field. We're trying to allow more businesses to get involved. So where possible, you no longer need to own the required equipment to meet the terms of a contract. However, you do have to have access to it, and you have to, again, be able to demonstrate that. Financial capacity, right? Tanisha talked about this. You have to be able to pay yourself and your workers while you wait for payment, because I did say, right, we pay, we pay, but you got to finish the contract before we pay. And that can be a heavy lift, right? So you have to be ready for that. Finally, although this is not required, we strongly recommend include your capability statement, right? That's that one pager, kind of your one pager resume that shows what your capacity is. It's an opportunity to differentiate your business in just a few short words. Also, if you have any certifications, whether they are state, federal, or other states, include those, right? Even though they're not required, or even if they are not required, they can add some value to your proposal. Now, next, before submitting a proposal, you need to make sure that you meet the bid requirements, right? This is very, very important. Before you even spend any time pulling together a proposal, make sure you read it through once, read it through twice, read it through 3 times, right? Make sure that you really can meet all of those requirements, but not just the bid requirements. Really think about the awardee requirements as well, because if you win the bid, you're going to have to be able to meet everything. And one of the very important pieces is insurance. The bid will be very specific about insurance requirements. So that gives you some time to make sure that you're working with the right insurance company. Legal representation, not required, but it can be helpful. There's a couple of different ways. Now, first of all, if you work with an attorney, make sure it is someone with public sector experience. This is different from private sector, and contracting in the public versus private. These are very different experiences. So make sure that you work with someone with that public experience. They can help you in a couple of ways. Now, if there is negotiations if you win an award, if you are awarded a contract, there usually are not negotiations, but in some cases there are. An attorney can be very helpful in helping you navigate that process. Regardless, there is one thing that an attorney can always help with, and that is understanding your contract terms. And again, this is another one I really stress with people. Uh, never ever sign anything that you do not understand in full, right? Um, there are going to be a lot of terms, and when you sign on that line, it's saying that you are committing your company to every single piece of that contract. And so you want to make sure that you understand that. And one of the very, very important terms to make sure you understand is indemnification. This is something that is included in every single state of Connecticut contract, and that means that you are going to be liable for acts of omission, right? So you got to make sure you're willing to accept this. You feel like your company is capable of accepting this, and make sure you understand what that means, right? I gave just a very general definition right now. Dig into that and make sure you really understand the ramifications of that. And finally, procurated. This is a public sector supplier review website. It's kind of like the Yelp for public contracting. And this is a site we use, right? We all know modern day how important a review is, right? Probably all of us on the call today have made decisions onto whether or not you're going to do business with a specific company or purchase something on Amazon, or, you see a review on Yelp and decide whether you're going to go to a local business or not. We put a lot of value on those reviews. It is exactly the same with Procurated. If you are awarded a contract and do some work with the state, we are going to review your performance on Procurated. And all departments within the state of Connecticut are going to be able to see that review, and any across the nation, any other uh, uh, institutions that use Procurated, they are also going to be able to see your reviews. So you want to make sure it's going to be a good review, right? All right, so now we come to our small business certification. Uh, This is certainly a step to consider. If you are a Connecticut-based small business, you may be eligible for certification in our small business certification program. There are some definite benefits to this. That we offer visibility, credibility, and opportunity. I don't have time to get into the details on this today. But certainly, check out our website. We have full details on that. I'll just give you a couple of quick details on it. In terms of visibility, we do have a directory that is very well used. It is used by public and private buyers. We spend time marketing this directory, particularly to state agencies, and encouraging agencies to use this when they are looking for potential contractors or subcontractors to work with. So as soon as your business is certified, you do get posted to this directory. And I would say this is one of the most valuable benefits at this point to this certification. Simply put, because it is so well used and because we put more and more time into getting this out to public and private buyers and encouraging them to use this. Um, uh, it's a credibility. I'll just speak briefly on each of these. Credibility. It is this is a credential from your home state, right? Certifying that you are a Connecticut-based small business. And there are some opportunities. We have spending allocation goals that we use to encourage agencies to provide opportunities to certified small and minority-owned businesses. So it is worth putting time into learning more about this. And I will be sharing our contact information at the end of this presentation. And so if you have any questions, always reach out to us. And like I said, our website has a lot of detail on this. So the last question I wanted to go into today is how do you contract with the state? And Tanisha mentioned SAM.gov for the federal government. Well, this is our CT source. This is the state contracting website. This is like the heart of everything. We strongly recommend you register here because then you'll get emails every time an opportunity related to the products or services that you sell is posted. Contracting with the state starts with submitting a strong bid proposal, right? So you need to you register so that you can learn about those opportunities as they happen. Find an opportunity that aligns with the commodities that you offer and put in a strong bid proposal, right? We have phenomenal partners. Tanisha mentioned many of them. We work with a lot of the partners that SBA funds, like Apex and SBDC and the WBDC. These are wonderful partners that you can work with that offer almost entirely free services, and they can help you with developing that competitive proposal. So we strongly recommend that you reach out to them and work with them. And of course, we are being hosted by one of our phenomenal partners today, right? We have SCORE, we have the Southern Connecticut Black Chamber of Commerce, and work with these. These are your resources, right? These are your best resources to move forward. Let's see. So I want to leave a couple minutes for questions. So here is I have providing. I'll post this in the chat as well. But here I have the website for CT Source. Remember that is our contracting website, and the email if you have any questions specifically about CT Source. And then also I have our business access team's website, which includes a lot of resources, including certification, as well as our email. We are very good at answering our email, our whole team. We answer on a daily basis, and we do offer services in both English and Spanish. So I encourage you to please reach out to us. I am going to stop sharing, and then I'll see if I see some things popping up. I'll look through and see if there were any questions. But one of the things I want to do real quick is just pop those resources into the chat that I mentioned.
And if you could take a look at the Q&A, Shelli, there are a couple of questions in there in addition to the chat.
Okay. All right, let's see. Fawn, I would definitely recommend, this is where working with our partners like SCORE and the Chamber of Commerce, and SBDC and others, in terms of asking questions and getting support at those little more deep into the weeds of moving forward in contracting, this is where our partners come in. They really shine. Let's see. Whether a website would be relevant in showing experience. Generally, every contract or every bid is going to be very, very detailed in how you need to show that experience. So that's where you have to just look into you have to read through the details on a proposal. There are going to be a lot of very specific questions and information that you need to provide as part of the bid. And again, Mac, I would the same. Please work with our partners. These are very specific, industry specific questions, so I would work with our partners. Let's see. And I think I grabbed all the questions. Are there any other questions today?
I think you got them all, Shelli.
All right. Yes, please reach out to us with any other questions. We are here to serve. We take that very seriously. So, um, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tanisha and Shelli. A great presentation. Very, very much appreciated, especially giving us all the contact information and your willingness to work with our audience. It is appreciated. As a reminder, a recording of this webinar and any materials will be available within a couple of days on the westernconnecticut.score.org website. Please check our website for information on upcoming webinars. Again, SCORE offers free individual counseling, so please use the link on the screen or visit our website and click Request a Mentor. We are available for sessions via phone, email, or video. You will be getting an evaluation at the end, and we really appreciate your feedback so we can continue to make these webinars better and better for you every day. On behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's live webinar. And Tanisha and Shelli, thank you very, very much. And everyone have a great afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you so
one.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.